Thank you, Marcus. We're so excited to be here tonight with AIGA and Angela. This is such an amazing space, and we're honored that you would open up your doors and have us here tonight. Welcome, everyone, to our first Case Studies event. My name is Billy Garner, and I am the marketing manager at InCase. I've been with the brand for really since late 2017, and since with the brand, even though it's been a pretty short time, one of the things I've really grown to love about the brand is the way we value partnerships and really create these collaborative conversations. And InCase as a brand has really always been focused on basically protecting your ideas. And tonight, I think, it's the natural progression of an evolution of that thought process that we want to protect your ideas, but we also want to, what the idea behind this platform was. Case Studies is something where we can take, influential community leaders and different creatives, really create these experiences and special moments. And I think in today's day and age, it's something that we need the most. Disconnect from our phones for an hour, create conversation amongst our peer groups and creative organizations. And I'm so happy to be here tonight with AIGA, who are top leaders within the creative community, and people like Mark Oblow, who is just, the guy's an absolute workhorse. And the last couple of months, getting to know Mark, I've followed his career for years, but really having him part of the family and being here today, it was just, it's so organic to have him come up and give his talk on behalf of InCase and AIGA to kick off this event series. So without further delay, I want to bring up Mark and have him discuss some of his early perspectives.
And who put the first camera in your hands?
That actually was my good old mother, who was also the first one to buy me my skateboard, which she bought me a skateboard right when I was trying to get my cat off the roof, and I was standing on a hamper, and the hamper fell, and my foot went like this right through a fish tank, broke, cut through my Achilles tendon, and I wasn't supposed to walk for 6 months. So it was like, that's, you in bed here, you got to go through surgery, all this stuff, living in Hawaii, and then mom buys me a skateboard. And all I wanted to do was ride my skateboard. So I'm just lying in bed like, all I want to do is ride the skateboard. But yeah, my mom. So yeah, this wasn't the camera, but this was the same camera, Canon AE1. And that's the first camera that she actually bought me, which was for me to document skateboarding, because at the time, my friends were all the best skateboarders in the world. And they were truly my influence for everything. And so it was this whole thing of the skateboard movement that was the 80s, that was this whole new phenomena that was like kind of a next. And that was kind of like a whole thing of skating back then in the 80s was, there were so few of us, so when you saw someone that was a skateboarder, you would connect to them. And no matter what, if you saw someone, anywhere you were, you would connect and you'd be at their house, you'd stay at their house, or they would take you to spots. It was a way more welcoming thing than it is now, and it was such a small little community that if you skated and you saw someone that skated, you were like, that's my brother or that's my sister, and you connected. And so in the 80s, there was so little dudes, and I connected with a guy whose name was Christian Asoy, and I was probably 11 or 12 at the time, and I think he was 16 maybe, and it just went from there. And from that point, people were coming to Hawaii, because Hawaii was great because we had ditches, we had pools, and we had the ocean. So guys would come and skate, and it was just the winter playland and summer playland, and it was constant. So guys would come through tours, they'd be going to Japan or they'd go into Europe or wherever, and they'd stop through Hawaii. And they'd stay, and like guys would stay for like month, 2 months, 3 months, and then they'd go to a contest and they'd come back. So it was like we just had this rotary of all these guys that were the top guys that were my friends, but I knew they were special. And so it was like, oh, I need to skate, I need to shoot photos of this, I need to be involved with this. And yeah, it's...
Because you sold your first ad to Thrasher magazine when you were in high school? How old were you?
Yeah, I was in high school, and that was like the funny thing with high school. I was shooting photos, but I couldn't get into my photography in my high school because you had to be a part of the yearbook to get in there, and they wouldn't let me in because of my behavior. So I was not able to take photography classes in high school. And then I had published photos. By that time, I think I had two photos published in Thrasher already that I got paid for. And at that time, you know, and it was just like, yeah, but you can't come in this, you know. And that was when I ended private school, because at the time I got kicked out of public school. They put me into private school because they thought that would help. And then that didn't help. So then I went to public school. And that's when I was actually able to get into a lab and print my own photos. And just, I mean, I couldn't get out of there. I was just like in heaven. You know, it was a whole new world to me. And that's when I started to realize at that point, and then art at my senior year of high school was, this is something that is for me. This is something that I can lose myself in, and I can, you know, do a stipple drawing for hours and think of nothing else and not stress or not have any other worries, you know? So that was kind of the beginning of the freedom of the mind.
Yeah, because you left Hawaii at 19 and you pursued skateboarding.
Truthfully, I had a lot of friends that skateboarded, and the pressure of turning pro and it becoming your job and you having to skate and you having to do videos, and it put a whole different perspective on skateboarding. You know, once it became your job, it became different, and all of a sudden it was looked at different. So I had friends that they would be pissed all the time, breaking their boards, snapping, losing it, like just stressed out of their mind, because you're being watched at all times at that point. You know, you go to a skate park and you're being judged every minute you walk in the skate park. So if you're having a bad day that day, those are what kids are going to look at you at, and at those times they're going to start talking shit, and, you know, well, who's this guy, da 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 da, and it can ruin your day, you know, when you already were having a negative day and you just wanted to go around and roll around. And so at the point I was at that with Vision, and they wanted to turn me pro, and I was like, no way, I don't want that. I'll become a team manager's assistant, so I can go everywhere they go. I can skate everything they get to skate, but I have no pressure. All I got to do is make sure they're up or whatever, get them water, and kind of like, that's when my babysitting job started.
Your business card says
I was a babysitter for a long time, professional babysitter, but yeah.
And then you went on to do other brands, obviously, for majority of your adult life.
Yeah.
Going from Acme, Think, Race, Color, Union Wheels, Prime, Speed Demons, Coffee, Duff's, Indian Ink, Vita, and then ultimately landing at Quicksilver, which kind of encapsulated what you were doing early on in your life with photography. They offered you something there.
Yeah.
So.
I mean, and to just give a brief through all the brands, that was the beauty back then too with skateboarding, is and as you'll see through some of my photos, you'll see it in the beginning, you'll see a lot of like guys wearing Converse, or you'll see some stuff with some Nikes. And that's because in the beginning, we didn't have skateboard shoes. You know, we didn't have skateboard clothes. We had nothing. We just had our boards. So all of a sudden, we started to make our own stuff. So we started to do our own shoe companies. We started to do our own clothing. And that was the point of having, you know, mentors like that, where it's like all of a sudden, like, I want to make bags. Okay, start making bags. And then all of a sudden we go, and next thing you know, we're working with sample makers and we're making patterns, and then make a bag. And then next thing you know, it's like, oh, dude, let's make jeans. Okay, make jeans. Like, next thing you know, and I mean, to the point where my first cease and desist was from Levi's, because I ripped off a Levi's. I had no idea. Oh, Levi's took the pocket, took their pattern in the back. Brad, let's sell them. Put them out there, sold them, and next thing you know, it's like, you can't do this. And I was, huh? What do you mean? Like, whoops, all right. You know, but no one told us no. So we did, and we made clothes, and we made bags, and we made whatever we wanted, because it was kind of like our own little world. And you'll kind of see too, which is funny, is in the very beginning, surfing came, and surfing made skating. So skating is the little brother of surfing. Well, in the very beginning days, you see guys wearing Quicksilver, you see guys wearing Billabong in the very beginnings, and then you'll see a lot of the guys all wearing Hawaiian surf shop clothing. So brands like Locomotion, Hawaiian Island Creations, those surf shops made clothes, and they actually sponsored half the original skaters in the very beginning. So that's what's the weird thing, is the surf industry had it all in the beginning, and then all the skaters kind of branched out. We did our own thing, and we did that all the way through the 90s. And then all the big brands came in and they bought all of us up. And then now is the point of like, you know, here we are making clothing and making stuff. And then all of a sudden you have companies like Tilly's and Zoomies and these things coming in, well, then all of a sudden you have companies that are making bags in China, clothing's in China and overseas, and what they're able to sell a bag for, or clothing or a shoe or whatever, all of a sudden it puts all these skateboard brands. So that's what happened. They all got sucked up. They all got bought up. And then they get bought up, and what happens is the big machine buys it, and then they say, no, you can't run like that. You can't run like that. You can't run like that. You got to do this, this, and this. Well, that's the way the big machine works, and that's not the way the little machine goes. So all of a sudden it goes through the same thing, and it goes through cycles where it's out right now, where all of a sudden surf industry just boomed, and you have all this with, you know, Quicksilver and Billabong and Ruka now all being bought, and it's all kind of being submerged in again and rebirthed. And then that's what's happening is, once again, you'll have these small little brands that will start from these skaters, and boom, next thing you know, they'll blow up and the ball continues.
And during that whole time, you were photographing anyway and doing art. I know that Quicksilver gave you a platform to photograph a lot of their campaigns, and that continued on into Burton Analog, where you were the creative director as well as a designer, and then into Adidas, where you did a bulk of their work. Yeah,
Quicksilver was a really, really big lesson. And that's the thing for me. I didn't go to school. I went to school with all these companies. These brands were all my schooling. So I worked for these. I went from working from doing things complete yourself to literally everything, building your trade show booth, shooting your ad, doing every single thing you could, your graphics, everything, to then working for these big brands where all of a sudden there's hundreds of people doing these jobs, and you're just like, what? We could do this with 3 of us, you know? But okay. And all of a sudden I had to go through these things where they saw a video that I made, and the marketing director of Quicksilver was like, dude, you need to start shooting some photos. So next thing you know, they send me on a shoot to New York with a pro surfer who I'd never met, who is notorious for being a problem. And then this skateboarder that was definitely a problem. And I was supposed to go to New York, fly there, shoot them, style them, like do everything. I had the clothes in my backpack. I was supposed to carry everything. So I remember getting on the plane, and this guy wasn't on, the surfer guy yet. I'm like, oh my God, maybe he won't show up. Maybe he won't show up. Please, please, please. But he showed up, and we ended up having a great time. But that was like, I shot that shoot, and next thing you know, those were on the back cover of Spin magazine. So it was like I went from having stuff in skateboard mags to like now all of a sudden I was on the back of a major publication. And then that, with Quicksilver, they made me shoot youth and toddlers and women's and bikinis. And I mean, it just went through this thing of where I was just going nuts, going, oh my God, I don't want to shoot this. I just want to do this other stuff. But it was truly the training for me to go around and like try and work with a toddler, you know, and literally, and that's the thing, that the toddler's fine. His mom and dad are the part you have to deal with, because they're on the corner like, look, Billy, smile. And you're like, come on, Billy, look over here, you know, but you got to learn how to deal with parents. But it was, once again, Quicksilver was great, because I went in Quicksilver at the time because I had a shoe company called Vita, and we were struggling. So I knew guys at Quicksilver, and I'm like, hey, I can come in, I'll build you a skateboard team, and you guys help me and travel me around. And, you know, so at the time they were like, you can get Tony Hawk and blah, blah, blah. So I got Tony Hawk, that all happened. And yeah, Quicksilver was a really good thing. But the problem with Quicksilver, and that was the thing over the years and years and years, was it was just a primarily dominant surfboard brand, and they did not care about skateboarding. And so like my guys were getting covers and covers and covers, and they didn't even care. And they'd be like, you know, so-and-so might get the cover of Surfer, where I'm like, my guys are winning contests, they're getting editorials, they're doing all the things. And so it was like a struggle, because it was kind of for me going, well, I'm getting paid all this money, but I'm leading dudes in the wrong direction. So I can't do this. It's just not right for me. And then randomly at the time, Burton was looking at getting into the industry, so they approached me, and they're like, you know, we want you to redirect our shoe company, Gravis, and then do a clothing brand called Analog, which at the time was just outerwear, snowboarding outerwear. So they wanted me to redirect that and make that in skating, because they realized too, they're like, skating is the roots, skating is the culture, you know, snowboarding came from skating even, you know, so we can't bolt ourselves, especially in a shoe brand, without having skateboarding. So at the time I redirected Gravis and Analog, and in the very beginning I had full control. So I had complete control, which is needed, especially in skateboarding, because these guys are actually designing their shoes. They are actually designing their products. They're involved with that, where surfing isn't involved like that. They're not the same way. Guys aren't, they just surf, where it's a total different, that's where, once again, I say it's like the big brother, little brother, where surfing was the more sports side, where skating was the more creative side, you know, and the more like, just do it yourself. Like, I don't care, you know, usually the little brother. And, sorry, what did, so Analog and Gravis, they approached me. I started doing that, and I was the creative director for that, doing all the design, doing all the team. And then I also was doing photography, and I was doing tons of different stuff. I connected with Adidas, and then that kind of started my whole thing with shooting celebrities. And I mean, that whole world went and once again took off, and I mean, I went from literally being home probably like maybe like a month out of the whole year, where I was flying to China, I was flying to Europe, I was flying to Hawaii, I was flying all around the world, shooting all these people, I was shooting celebrities, and at the same time doing all this creative stuff. And it literally just got to the point where it was so much and too much, and I wasn't focused, and I wasn't happy, and I wasn't excited with what I was shooting or what I was doing. And it kind of was just at the point of like, I need to stop all this or switch or do one or the other. They both kind of ended, where like Gravis and Analog, that basically Burton said, we don't want to be a part of surfing and skating anymore. We're done. Pulled the plug. So all of a sudden it's like, whoa, okay, that's fine. I do photography. And then all of a sudden just the whole photo world. And I had an agent in New York, and that was the point too for me, was I was able to deal with my own relationships myself. And so when there was an agent involved and other people, they were getting in the way of what was happening, or not calling someone back, or snubbing someone, or brown-nosing someone, and treating people not the way that I treat people, because once again, I grew up in the very beginning with all my heroes. So there's no ego, there's no any of that. And that's part of what helped me with shooting celebrities, you know, and the biggest one was David Beckham, was because I didn't care who he was, you know. So I care about everyone, you know. Everyone is important to me. So it went to shooting him, and I mean, there's all these things, like literally, like you can't even look him in the eye, like, oh, I mean, it's just ridiculous. And so I go through all this stuff, and we go to shoot the first shoot, and we go to get the first shot, and I go to shoot the camera, and my computer goes down. And so my assistant just starts freaking. He's trying to get it up, and all these people surround my assistant. And he's panicking. I'm like, hey guys, everyone please just step back. Give him 5 minutes. We'll be cool. Sorry, Mr. Beckham, you know, like we'll be back in 2 minutes. And then sure enough, we got it up, we shot. And then we shot the first shoot. And then normally a lot of times in photography, which also I witnessed because I did video first, was the photographers are pompous assholes, and they treat everyone like dicks, and they have their assistants, and they, you know, they literally walk in, and here's their camera, and they shoot the photo, and then, and they walk off. And I was always like, what is that? Like, so, you know, same, all of a sudden we shoot the first shoot, we start breaking all the equipment down. We're pulling all the equipment around to go to the second shoot. I'm setting up the second thing, and all of a sudden, I get circled by all David's people. And I'm like, oh my God, what do I do now? Like, and they're like, what are you doing next week? What are you doing next week? And I'm like, I'm going to be in Japan. And they're like, well, David wants you to shoot a shoot for him if you can, and whatever. So we end up doing the whole shoot. He comes back after the shoot, and he was an awesome dude and was like, thank you very much. He thanked all my crew. He's like, you guys are great. And it was super cool and rad and respectful. And then it started a whole relationship with working with David Beckham, you know, where once again, I'm being flown to London to shoot David Beckham, and I'm like, I'm a skateboarder from Hawaii, like, he's from London, like, there's all these famous dudes here, like, but cool, man, you know.
And it all started from your upbringing in
and the
Hawaii.
same, yeah, it's just the respect, and, you know, I mean, treat people with respect, and you'll get it back, you know, and treat people with love, and you'll get it back, and if you treat people with arrogance, and like you're some pompous, it's gonna wear out. I've seen it happened to a lot of people, and it's sad, but you know, when you have a gift and you're lucky to be able to have it, you should be lucky. But everyone's got a gift, you know. We all have gifts, and it's just how we let them out. You know, we can be a mother, you can be a good father. You know, all that is a gift. You know, it's all important. You know, so
Yeah, let's get started with some of your early photos, since you've maintained all these good relationships your entire life with
Well, I just pushed this.
every one of these people.
And that's the thing, I'm technically not there. Okay. This is me. This is the beginning right here. This is my surfing days. And this is kind of where it started. That was the board my mom bought me. And that's my first ramp. Look how sick that thing was. And then also in Hawaii, we grew up really as Asian culture, so Boys' Day, and that's what those flags are, the kois. And you know, your brother has one. If the boys have kois, and then on Girls' Day, it's, they get boxes with cool dolls and stuff. We get fish, but so that's kind of the first. This is Stacy Gibo. This is basically my first influence in skating and in punk rock. This is the guy when we're little kids and we're driving home, and all of a sudden we get into our valley, and spray painted in the valley, it's "Kill the Poor," and we're like, oh my God, and that, which is a punk rock thing. And he was the first real bad influence of he was just no fear, balls to the wall, and this is him. And he would do the craziest stuff. He would fall, he would hit his head, need stitches, but still skate. He would split his leg open, he'd still skate. His fingernail would get cut, he would rip it completely off. This guy had no fear, no pain, and literally was the essential meaning of punk rock. And then also on this one, it's kind of important too, because with the Hawaii sticker and also with the Quicksilver sticker, where once again, you had skaters were, for Hawaii too, we've always were pride. We always had pride, no matter what. It's pride that we're from Hawaii. So and once again, showing that is there you have Hawaii pride, and once again, Quicksilver. And this was the first vertical ramp that I skated. This was in Tantalus, and it was basically like a U-shaped ramp that they built in the ground. And these are some of the first guys that I started skating vert with. And I like if you look at the old style, the Thrasher shirts and all this stuff, but it was cool. I mean, this thing was the hardest thing ever in the world to ride. I couldn't even hit the top of it. On the back, you see that's a vert wall, and then on the top of that was coping. But this was the first introduction to vert. And then this was me, my first traveling from skateboarding. We went to Maui. I rode for a shop called the Bike Factory, and they sent us all out here. So it was cool. This is the guy I grew up with, too, Billy Deans. Same thing on Maui. I like how you see the local kids. But yeah, this was crazy because we did this and skated, and then next thing you know, they tour us and they pull us back into this thing, and they had a dog fight, and it was the most traumatic thing I've ever experienced in my life, because I'm an animal lover, and I think me and my brother started crying, and we leave, and they're look at these guys, oh yeah, so. But it's too back in, and everything was fun. We had so much fun with what we did in skating, and with the way we were, and if you can see the way we dressed, and everything is such a brotherhood and such a camaraderie of skating, and once again mimicking surfing. Right there, it's riding a wave, And then this is Christian Asoy. This is when Christian first came into my life. Basically, this was when we first went to the ramp. My brother's the far guy with the wrist guard on. But yeah, this is some of the original crew. This was a ramp called Red Hill Ramp, and the ramp was only about 6 feet high, which was insane that Christian could do this. And then if you look too, this is back before, once again, the skate clothing, and if you notice, he's skating in boxer shorts. So he used to skate in 2 pairs of boxer shorts, which are one was reversed though, so it was backwards, so your thing couldn't slide out, and whatever, but that was the style. It was insane, but yeah, it all started because of him. And this is a ramp we had, and we'd have ramps built in different valleys and different things. But this is in Waimanalo, which is a big farm town right now. There's me, nice shorts. Once again, Christian. And then we started doing street skating. Street skating came about, and this was one of the demos we did. We'd have this, basically before they built the houses in cul-de-sacs, we would go there, and this was one we called the Bat Cave. And then we had this car that we'd drive around called the Foster's car. And it was kind of the car that whoever used, because it wasn't registered, or there was just, but that was kind of the car that you'd go to the liquor store and you'd skate on. But yeah, this was also too, when I first broke my leg, I got ran over by a car, one of my friends in this van. And then I didn't go to the doctor. And then we went to this demo, and I was jump ramping over the car. and jumped completely over, and that's when I completely fractured my leg, and it was awesome. Street plants, this is what we would do to mimic, once again, mimic the vert, mimic these things. What happened was all of a sudden started going to the street. And that's where all this stuff, basically all these things, all these ollies, everything was from the, basically now taken from the ramps to the street. So once again, there's an olling boards. That became a thing where in the beginning that wasn't there. Those were only on vert ramps, you know, and so it just, the progression came. This is off the walls. This is where I first started to actually skateboard. And this ditch was on the way to the beach. So we would go from my house through this, pass through this, skate the ditch, and then cut through the golf course and go through the hole into Sandy Beach. And that was kind of our route. And we'd get chased by the golfers and the marshals, and that was it. And so this was our spot. Once again, there's Christian. And as you can see, too, he has like Hawaiian Creations. So that's when, too, now the surf shop started getting back in again. And the thing with Christian that I always admired about him was his father was an artist. And his father went everywhere with him. And his name's Ivan, and he was really my first introduction to like a fine artist. And so he would paint all Christian's boards. So that's a painting of Christian on his board. And I really loved that because you had these printed graphics that you would buy and everyone got them, but you would have these boards that were painted and hand done, and that always resonated with me and always stuck with me because I just felt that that was special and something cool. But this is, again, in the ditch. And this is what we used to have to skate. You know, we didn't have parks. We didn't have anything like that. And we'd get kicked out nonstop by the cops. I mean, they would chase us. It was harassment. It was funny because basically the cops would have to jump the fence, and we had it down, so we'd kind of wait, and we'd make them jump the fence, and then we'd run, and then there was a hole that we hid in, and they'd run past us. And it was the biggest, funniest joke because that was the first thing to outsmart these guys. And so it became this whole cat and mouse chase for a long time, but this was basically like our skate park. And if you could see on the bottom, we made our own transition. So that's kind of like we put cement and now it's DIY. They do this whole thing where guys are DIY, do your own skate park. And guys are really constructing and doing their own things, but this was kind of the beginnings of that in what we did. There's me and some day glow. We like that. This was Lance Mountain. This was when it was a really pivotal time in skateboarding, but basically the Powell team was the big team in the time, and they came to Hawaii to film their famous Animal Chin video. And so this was part of the thing. They came and they hooked up with my brother and I, and we took them around, Steve Caballero. And this is, again, another ditch that got ripped out, but Pipeline Bulls. And once again, that's locomotion shorts, so then the style starts going into that. You can see locomotion more, and then the same thing. Everything's like a mimic of surfing, you know, lay back. That's a boneless. Another one like a big carve on a big wave. I love the pants there. This was a funny. So this ramp was basically this kid's, little Oscar's house. And so one day we were here, and it was because Christian was skating, and so I climbed on the roof right on the side near the window. And I was shooting photos like on the roof, and his parents were in the house looking out the window, and I'm shooting, you know, like tick, 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 and next thing you know, I'm not on the roof. I fell, and I'm totally sideways, and I just completely fell right in the grass. But somehow the way I fell, I didn't even get hurt at all. And I just remember just like the parents looking at me, and I was like, well, I just meant to do that, like walked off like it was nothing. But anyway, sorry. But yeah, same thing, just the fashion back then. You know, we'd rip apart your shirt. You would take your shirt and you'd rip your sleeves off. You'd rip the bottom off. You'd make a head gasket, which was your hat. You'd make bracelets. You'd make all these streamers, you know. This is some beginning demos. And this was funny, too, because this stuff back in, this was a really big demo that happened. And this was way before, I mean, there wasn't even pagers back then. And somehow the word of mouth got out that these dudes were all going to be here. It wasn't a significant, it was just a happened to be, and hundreds of kids showed up. It randomly was the most crazy thing. And this is the first time, like, this is Jesse Martinez. He's a Venice guy. And this is the first time, like, anyone in Hawaii saw wall rides. So this was, like, the first of, like, holy shit, you can ride a wall? Like, you don't even need a tranny. And you know, this guy in the back with the headband, that's Johnny Kopp, who was a Hawaii pro. But so all of a sudden you had, because this was before internet and a lot of the videos and all the stuff, but you just out of nowhere, you had all the best skaters in Hawaii all here. And then they're all skating the school in Knee Valley. And then basically then we went up and went to Wallows, which is the infamous ditch in Hawaii. And this is kind of like, Hawaii is known for pipeline and surfing as this gnarly wave, and Waimea is this gnarly wave. Well, this ditch, Wallows, is the gnarliest in ever of skateboarding. And it's like, you go here and you're going to bleed. And you're going to get cut, and there's nothing you can do about it. And it's kind of like one of those things like the reef, and you have to go there and kind of conquer it. So that was a big thing. And once again, if you look, like you can see is like kids started coming, and same thing, the crowds of this. And also, I mean, and once again, looking at it now where you're like, you know, of course people can text these things, but back then, how it all started, it was phenomenal. This is another important photo right here, and this guy taking the photo is Kevin Thatcher, and he was the editor of Thrasher at the time and shooting all their stuff, and he was a big mentor to me with shooting and skating. And as you can see right here, he's letting me hang over his shoulder, which you don't do, and shoot. And one of these actually had come out and was the cover of Thrasher mag. So it was good. And here, once again, look at the amount of crowd that showed up. But that was the thing of like, I was taught by these guys, and they allowed me to be around this and to shoot. And I was torn between skating and shooting because I wanted to skate. And this was like also at that time, that was kind of like your time to do it, especially if you're from Hawaii and, you know, you had all the mags there and you had all this stuff. But I had this whole other side of me going, you have to document this, you know, and I didn't even know why, but it was such a thing. There's another one of me. But yeah, and it just became a thing. And basically this is Mark Gonzalez, and he basically is like the equivalent of my Picasso or my Dali or, you know, my influence. And that was the thing of him being a friend of mine, but his art touching me and just blowing me away with his simplicity. He's got a style a lot like Keith Haring. He draws figurines, but it was just his freedom. And once again, his style back then of even how he showed up with the beret and the camos. And I mean, literally this guy shows up and the next day we're all wanting to dress like him. And my mom and dad were awesome, really welcoming. My mom loved to cook, so she would cook food for everyone. She'd do breakfast, and people would come over, and this is Steve Caballero and Stacy Giebel, my influence. Once again, Kevin Thatcher. But my mom always had that and always had meals, Roscop, and it was a real important thing, and I didn't realize at the time, but having my mom and dad both work, and me and my brother going to school, and then we'd come home, and we'd have to wait for my dad to get home. My mom would make the meal, and we'd always have to wait for my dad to come home, and we'd all eat the dinner together. And we had every meal together, and no matter what, you talk about your day, and you talk about things, and all this stuff, and it really, I think, is a special thing and a special time, and it was something, too, for me, where it's like, for me, I love cooking, and I love going out with my friends, and I love to have meals, and it's just a special time to share, and I think disconnect and, you know, not have your cell phone. But this is in front of my house, too. This is the street I grew up on. This is some jump ramps that we had. That's actually my house in the background that I grew up on. And then, yeah, this was basically Roscop, and this is the start, like jump ramping. It became a thing over cars. And then this was the first ad. So this was my first ad that I ever had and had published and in Thrasher at the time that I couldn't get in photography in school. But, yeah, so once again, surfing and skating was such a thing for us. We'd go surfing in the morning when it was good, and then we'd come home and we'd skate, and then when it got hot, we'd go back. But it was a big thing with us was surfing and skating, and everything was style. Everything was about style, how you looked in the air, you know, how you did your tricks. And that's why Christian was such the essential back then with everything he did. It was just like, he was like a rock star. This one is me, and a significant thing is the grip tape, and that's kind of like which really became my first canvas, and that was the first thing I started to paint. And from there it spawned to today, where today I still paint boards and I have grip tape out with a company, and it's been a cool thing. But for me, it's also a really awesome thing to see your work actually being written and having it on a surfboard or having it in a surfboard and a guy in a barrel and your art is in the barrel, or like a guy flying through the air and your art is on a guy's board. It's just super cool for me. And also it's a thing of like, for me, with my friends, it was a way of like kind of showing them that I'm with you too, you know? So like if you're gonna go out there, because a lot of this shit's dangerous and guys get really badly hurt and injured, and you know, it can be pretty heavy. So it's kind of like that whole play-in, but that was kind of it. That's Gibo again. This was another ramp. So once again, we all had to build the ramps and do it on people's sides. This was a friend's house in Kaneohe. And it was like through parents that allowed their kids to build ramps, or at the time during the 80s, there wasn't. That was it, because all the parks closed. This was a demo that we did in the mall, which was super cool, because I mean, I thought that was like the coolest shit ever. Like, we get to skate in the mall. Like, that's a photo of me right there. But yeah, it was just, because we were skaters and punk at the time. So everything on the mall was not us at all. Like, it was like the most anti-enemy. It's like going to the police station, you know, where it was like, no, but that was cool. And then this is, again, some more demos that happened where, once again, the word of mouth of these things and what happened and took place is crazy. There, again, another boxer short shot. And then Christian, you saw skating women's too. So like that was Jimmy's, was a women's, because the men's clothing wasn't right for him. So he started to wear the women's, which, you know, in skating, there's the same thing where you look at the fads, and at first the loose, baggy white jeans came from skating. And we literally got to the point of oversized to the point where it was ridiculous. And then all of a sudden hip hop picks up bagginess and that whole style. So then skaters go into peg jeans, the direct opposite. Tight, skinny peg jeans. And then all of a sudden fashion and rock, and boom, they pick up that. And then now it's remorphing. So it's kind of cool to watch that and be a part of that, and also see, you know, mainstream culture. And that's the thing of like David Beckham going like, what jeans are you wearing? You know, and them coming to us, because, you know, it's what kind of what we did. This was a photo of Christian silhouette back in the day. He just, once again, iconic for style. And at the time, a horrible photo in skating, because there's no coping. And in skating, you want to show where the guy's taking off from and landing, or it doesn't have credibility. But in this, being the time and the place, it's funny, because all those photos that I thought were worthless are now gold, which, once again, waiting through time. And this is Tony Alva. He's one of the pioneers. Skating, Eddie Reddigey. Once again, this is all Hawaiian Island creation clothing. So you have that whole influence of surfing and sport in here. Caballero. That's Bo Ikeda. He was this was one of Hawaii's big time pros, Bo Ikeda. This was another one, Jeff Hartzell. There's some backyard pools. We'd go basically try and find pools, we'd look for rent house signs, or we'd look for, you know, when we'd find mail piling up at houses, we'd trail through the things. We'd have police scanners so we could turn the radar on, and we'd hear like, oh, we got a disturbance and da-da-da. We'd have pool pumps where, like, if we saw your pool, we'd either throw oil in it, so you had to drain it, or we would just come drain your pool for you. So, like, if you went away for the weekend, you'd come home and your pool would be empty. Yeah, it was cool. This is a pool called the Dot, where same thing, we'd find construction houses and break in. And this was a pool that we had a long time called the Bridge Bowl in Kahala. And this was Popeye's pool, which is actually still around, which is weird, because all the other ones have gotten destructed. But that's my brother. Yeah, he's a suit and tie guy. There's me, an old shot. I was in another time, I think I was the first time I traveled, I went to Florida and skated the first skate park I actually skated, called Kona Skate Park, which is funny that Kona being in Florida. That's me in my backyard. It wasn't skatable, but it was fun. I was into soda and candy. And then this is Mark Gonzalez, and kind of started the whole Polaroid thing, where one trip he came back with a Polaroid, and I think Christian back with a Polaroid, and they were just shooting Polaroids like mad. And so I was like, I got to get a Polaroid and shoot it. Another thing that's cool is, like, here's Mark Gonzalez, who's a pro, and he rides for a Team Vision, and then he's got a shirt that says Hosoi, but it's a shirt that he made of Hosoi, which is a competitor and on another brand. But that's the thing in skating was, you know, he liked Hosoi, so that's his influence, so I'm going to just make a Hosoi shirt. So it's like, that's how rad it was in the beginning was, you know, no one, it didn't matter. We could all do these cool things and get away with it. And then this photo is a photo, it's pretty cool. It's Mark Gonzalez again and my friend Vince. And then I'm actually driving, and I'm using my knee to drive, and my hand is there to catch the Polaroid so it wouldn't shoot out the window when I was driving. And then that photo actually came out and became a cover of a magazine called What Youth, probably about 3 years ago. So for about 30 years, it was in a box, and then I pulled it out, and then it became a cover. This guy is another pro skater, a friend called Jason Lee, became a famous actor. He's on Who's Earl and a couple other Mallrats and all that. But a lot of our friends, that was the things like Spike started doing directing, and all these guys that came from skating. A lot of guys turned into music, playing music, and that is also like a weird key part of like people that generally skateboard have some sort of other artistic talent. They're either able to play music or they're able to be photographers or do. And that's what's weird with the whole industry is you have this taking place, and it is this whole creative process. Like there's a skater named Arto Saari, who's a Finnish skater. He came to America, blew up on the scene, just did everything you can imagine, was the best dude ever. And then as you know, your career slows down because of skating, your body can't deal with it. He starts shooting photos, and now he just did a full spread for Vogue. He's traveling the world, American Express. So it's like, I've never seen another sport where guys and girls can just, they can just flow into all these different artistic ways in different places. And also, you know, from being a photographer, a designer, or a graphic artist, there's so many avenues that come from this, and it's always been an outlet. And then this is basically a ramp called the Y ramp that 30 years ago they had a contest on, and I was the judge for. And then they put it here as a skate camp, and then tomorrow I actually fly in. This is a photo of me on the ramp. But tomorrow I actually fly in to judge the contest that's happening again now in Waikiki over 30 years from the first one. So it's a weird evolution, and that was kind of how I figured I'd end this as far as how the whole ball keeps rolling and continues to flow. Anyway, thank you. I hope I didn't bore you. Questions?
Questions.
Yeah, no questions. All right.
All right.
Anything? About anything? I'm open. Open for discussion. I mean, I prefer not.
Hi.
All right, cool.
What are your thoughts on skating in the 2020 Olympics in Japan?
I'm a big in favor of it. I'm big in favor of it. That's not right, but no, I'm a supporter of it. I watched what it did for snowboarding and some of my friends in snowboarding, and then also there's such a side to it because skating used to be this small little thing and purist thing, but it's not anymore. And that's the thing for me and my friends and the people that do it, I want them to get the most out of it that they can. And that's the rad thing now is like now you can go to schools and skate. You can go to skate parks and skate, you know, do the X Games and all that. Parents are behind it, unfortunately, because there's money. And so it's looked at as a good thing now, which once again, I think getting in the Olympics, there's a certain skater that'll be there, and then there'll always be a weird wild card. And that weird wild card is more who I represent, because I'm not that contest, you know, X Games guy. That wasn't my career path or my rider's path. We stayed definitely more to the core. But I really think it's good. It's huge. It's good for women because women skateboarding and just that whole thing. And once again, that was a big thing for me was all of a sudden going to China and all these other countries where they're opening up skate parks now, and you have opportunity for kids that was not there. And because the Olympics, they're into skating, and so that is the biggest part.
Really interesting choice of music for the video.
Oh, thanks.
Who it was?
For the jazz was the Equinox from John Coltrane. Yeah, very music. I'm into everything. My parents, like I say, come from New York. I grew up like really like Earth, Wind and Fire, you know, Motown, a lot of that, you know, Michael Jackson, and then coming to Hawaii and having all the Hawaii music and everything. It's, for me, that's the thing, I love all music. It inspires me.
What high school did you go to where they didn't let you?
Oh, it was Ari Deemer. Go figure.
Have you been back?
You know, I went back because I had an art show in Hawaii, what was it, 2 years ago? And so I went back to invite my art teacher because she was awesome, Miss Reginelli, but she wasn't there. And it was funny because they like literally looked at me like I was the weirdest dude walking in there, tattooed. Like the lady was like, "What are you doing here?" I'm like, "Is Miss Reginelli here?" I went here, and yeah, it was weird. And it's sad, but it also is what really motivated me in another sense to like, I'll prove them. You know what I mean? And so I don't know how much of high school I would have liked regardless because of, you know, I was a little punk. So, but yeah, I support would have, I think, been cool. But everything happens for a reason, you know. Yeah.
Do you think there's something inherently creative about the sport of skateboarding? Because just in it, it's about reclaiming your environment and kind of finding out ways to really have fun in spots where people wouldn't really notice. Do you think that's why there's so much like artistic talent there?
I think it's that. I think it has a lot to do with the freedom, you know, where it's really about you as an individual, where I kind of didn't click into baseball or to AYSO and all that. I went into those sports, but it just wasn't me. Where this was something where I could do it in my driveway, I could go out and do it down the street, I could do it in my garage, I could go to the ditch, you know, so it was, and it really, as now as an adult man, I can look back and go, that was my artistic expression, you know, into the fact of almost like it being like dance, where how you have to have your hands and how your arm's supposed to be and how you're supposed to be tucked, and everything about that was so critical, you know. So I really believe that that's like, you know, anyone that would have kids, and if their kids grad toward skateboarding, I would say, yeah, put your kids in music and in art, and I guarantee you they're gonna click onto that, because that's my same thing too. Like, I can play music just by playing music and hearing, and I taught myself how to play guitar the same way I taught myself how to use a camera, and I just got a piano, and I'm starting to learn how to play the piano because I'm like, I want to learn to play the piano, and it's that same set of, not like, you can't do that, you know, where I didn't have that, you know what I mean? Because we kind of were like told, like, you know, I mean, that's a perfect example. My teacher in high school said, I'm never going to amount to anything in skating. And I'm 47 years old, and I'm traveling the world, and I still travel the world. I mean, I can't even tell you how many passports I've filled because of skateboarding. And that's where it's like, I'll prove you wrong, you know? But yeah, it's definitely interesting. It's been a fun role.
So you work for all these different companies, and today you have your own company.
Well, Today, I'm lucky. I have basically sponsors of brands that are endorsed by me. So I have Ruka, I have InCase, I have Stance Socks, Electric, and then Trove, which is a new insurance app for your photography gear and that stuff when you travel. And with those companies, they just allow me to be me and to do my stuff. And then I do certain projects with the brands, or like I'll do a capsule, or I may shoot something, and those are additional things. But in essential, it's more you endorse us and you know, wear their products and kind of wave their flags. It's like even today of doing this for InCase, it's that kind of thing. And, you know, I do shows and constantly, like next month will be Japan and then Europe. And I mean, it's a constant. Just found out about China again. So it's a constant rotation. And that's the thing. I always tell Yankee, who's my partner, my art agent, he's a friend I grew up with in high school, skating and in Hawaii. But it's like I'm the most happiest I've ever been in my life. I'm living this dream, and it's crazy. It's nowhere near the financially, where I financially was, I mean, phenomenal where I was at before. But once again, what I was doing was nowhere what I was happy doing, and I didn't care about the money. And it's true, it was more money, more problems. It was like more motorcycles, more things. It's just like, I don't need all this, you know? So now, once again, focusing and just being able to do this is a gift. And I mean, I'm blessed, and it's so cool to see my products and places and on different things and having people enjoy it. It's great. So I'm very thankful. Next. I like coffee. Yeah.
You mentioned that treating people with respect is what you attribute a lot of your success to. What are some of the other things, maybe traits or just practices that you implement that help you get to the farm?
Respect is definitely the first thing. Honesty, you know, and my whole thing is always thinking of what that other person's thinking. You know, what would they think? How would they think? How would they feel? You know, think about others' feelings. And doing that, and then just Hawaii made me very humble, where you put your head down and you just go. Especially being a white guy from Hawaii, and you know, in that same thing, it was the same thing of like I had to prove to all my brothers and sisters over there that I was worthy, and by putting my head down and just going and charging and just, I mean, that's what I can always say is just I never stopped, and I just continued to try and pick up new things. And like this right here, this is my first really public speaking event where it's like, okay, now I got to try and influence people this way, you know, where before it was like I was making a block print, then it was like, oh, I did a stencil, or I do this or that. I never stopped, and that's one thing I think that's a good thing too, is just being able to get inspired by anything and trying to go with it and just having fun with it, and not worrying, because, you know, one of the best terms I heard before was when the artist says it's art, it's art. So if you make something, it's art. Don't stress it. Don't worry. It doesn't matter what anyone else thinks. And that's the thing. If you really believe in it and you really have pride and ownership and you feel like you've worked hard and you've done all that, then you can feel proud about doing that, you know. And so that's kind of like a big thing. It's just, once again, honesty and being real. Really trying to touch with people too, not hide behind phones or hide behind emails and that kind of thing, you know. Hands-on, really. Yeah. Yeah, I used to work with this guy at Quicksilver. Yeah, Ben! Woo!
So what inspires and influences your work today?
Man, traveling is huge. Women, it's huge, truthfully. For me, truly, it's the beauty of a woman, and I think it's such an inspiration to me, and I think, especially in today's time with how much, because that's the thing, my mom kicked ass. My mom worked, she cooked food, she did everything, and she provided love, and so once again, seeing how much my mom had to struggle in Hawaii being a woman, and once again, a lot of the Asian culture towards how they treat women in jobs and all this stuff, it was hard, and I saw my mom get destroyed by it and eventually want to leave the island because of it. So once again, to see the empowerment today and once again be able to have women be my muses and be what I can use to create what I do or what I get inspired by, and once again seeing that strength that they're doing now. And you know, my buddy here's daughter is blows me away by talks she says and who her influences are, and she's 8, and she talks about these women leaders and all that, and I'm like, when I was 8, man, I didn't know shit. And she's like, I want to be like her. And he's telling me to listen. I'm like, I don't know who that is. I don't know who that is. Like, and it's just so, yeah. Once again, traveling, women, because that's once again, because it is. It's my, whoa. But yeah, I'm going to fall over it. But yeah, just movement, really. Nature. Women. No, I'm just kidding. Next. Want to know what I think about women? No, I'm kidding. Yeah.
What do you think about the industry right now? The exposure that you have in Instagram, in all these channels?
Well, that's kind of a different. The industry, I think, is kind of in a bad spot right now, but it needs to be, because once again, it needs to get back to being creative. Where like before, you had so much more creativity in the industry. When it gets bought up in all these big shift takes and all this money and all this crap, which it's part of the system, it's part of what makes it goes. But when that takes control over the art and over the beauty and over these things, it kind of loses. And then it gets branched about, which it is again. Instagram, I'm not that type of person, but I got pushed at that time because after I stopped doing the creative direction and the photography and I was just focusing on art, I got pushed by Yankee and it was like, you got to do this, you got to do this. And so, you know, I first had a problem trying to use it as a tool, and then it started working where I got sent to Brazil to do my first mural, where I never did a painting bigger than like 4 foot by 8 feet, and then I had to go to Brazil to do a 150-foot mural outside, where what 500,000 people walk by while I'm painting. And that was the first of like, here you go, like, but that came from Instagram, and then it started to get photo jobs, and then so that's why I started to try and curate it like a magazine, where I do a little bit of art, I do a little bit of photography, I do a little bit of poetry, I do a little bit of these different things. And once again, I keep it as that. And for me, it's awesome because I have a window where I can look at who's looking at my art. I can look at what they're into. I can look at what they like. And then, you know, I've never had that before. So now it's like, ha, ha, ha. I'm able to look at everyone at the same time. And that's the thing. I'm very visual. So for me, I remember faces, and I remember, that's why I have a hard time with letters and stuff and reading where my head goes, but like I can remember faces. So I'll remember weirdly and be like, oh, I remember, I've seen your, like, and just randomly through. And it's just, it's been a cool experience. And I've had a really good thing with it where I think by trying to be more positive and being really open and kind of, you know, it's hard writing poetry and going like, okay, and he knows, like, in the beginning I was shaking. I was like, oh my God, I gotta do it. And now it's like, okay, I'm ready, you know, like, but it was just that. It's a new way, and I think it's a great way for an artist or a brand. Like, you know, Yankee and I have a skateboard brand we're starting now called Together, but it's a way that we don't need anyone else. And we could do it ourselves. And that's what's cool, is it empowers people and it empowers children, kids, everyone to be able to go, you know what, I can do this. And I have my mom and my dad on it, which is really weird. You know, my mom's like, oh God, my boy. And I'm like, holy shit, Mom, no. But, you know, it's cool too, because it just, once again, it has a whole different side to it. So.
Yeah, that's what I related to the industry.
Yeah.
You know, because it's changing in some way.
Yeah, well, that's the thing is, weirdly enough, the companies and the brands had all the power before, but now the riders have all the power. And that's what's kind of how it switched back again, where like the skaters or the athletes or whatever, where once again, your Instagram has the power. You know, you're able to speak, and that's how brands now are starting to use these different people. And once again, myself and InCase, that's why I'm an ambassador with this brand, is to come and tell my message and my story, which fits into the InCase message, which fits into the AIGA message, that, you know, once again, it's this whole kind of circle of trying to empower and embrace people in a positive way, you know.